most of his time
today on Twitter and on Facebook and any place else I could sneak into. We're starting a new show,
I guess,
and
wraps
as
it up
owner
better
of
than
the
anybody
station,
in the world.
I get to do things that other people don't get to do, and one of the things that I'm doing is introducing the new show, and it's going to be called Remembering Desert Shield and Desert Storms. And the reason for this is just like most of our shows here at America's Web Radio. It's because, and then you can put whatever else after it you want to, but it's because I realize that in my association with my heroes, which are veterans from many wars, going back to, I think I could almost go back to the Civil War. Maybe I could go back to the Revolutionary War when we put powder in our guns. But anyway, I realized that Desert Storm and Desert Shield were already being forgotten by civilians that have never served and or by our population. And I thought, wait a second, this is wrong. This is terribly wrong. It's as wrong as a middle school. I went to junior high school, which is the same stuff, but the junior high schools today have history books that dedicate all of 3 pages to World War II, and that just messes up my head. So anyway, with that being said, decided that we needed to make sure that Desert Shield and Desert Storm veterans and all of the people that were here and helped and supported our troops, that it's never forgotten, and it's as big a part of history as anything else. So who better to do a show like this? And I'm sorry, folks, I should be more respectful. I should be standing up instead of sitting down, but we're honored and flattered and very blessed to have General Richard Dix that's going to be doing our show, and he's sitting across from me right now, and we've already had about 45 minutes of good conversation about this, that, and many other things, and we even mentioned Desert Storm, I think, a few times. But it's a pleasure to have you as part of the family now, and looking forward to working with you and putting out the message that America's Web Radio supports our veterans. And not only that, but we want to work with them too, and we will in any way. We work with Johns Creek Veterans Association, I was corrected on, and we also work with, and he's only a colonel, but we work with a guy named Rick White that's a retired colonel from, he and Paul started the Georgia Military Veterans Hall of Fame, and the gentleman across from me right now is in the Hall of Fame. And it just, I told you when we talked a couple of weeks ago, there are a few people that I feel this way about. Melania Trump would be one, but besides that, and they're just in awe when you walk in the door. It's incredible. And thank you for your service. And if we had all military folks like the general, and I should just say sir, we'd be in a lot better shape than we are today. But thank you for your service, and thank you for agreeing to do the show. And we're going to keep Desert Storm and Desert Shield in people's minds.
Absolutely. And thank you, David. It's an honor to be here. I'm very humbled for the opportunity. And over 540,000 of my teammates deployed back in the early 90s to defend and extricate Saddam Hussein out of Kuwait, and to protect the natural resources in the region that supplied the world. And one of the greatest things is that it was a coalition of the willing, and we had partners from around the world that participated in Operation Desert Shield and Desert Storm. And I think, just like you, it's very important not to forget. He who forgets his past is doomed to repeat it. And there are a lot of lessons learned that came out of Desert Storm that we've been applying ever since. And over my 34-year career, we employed a lot of those lessons as we went back to the Middle East. And as we are now sending forces back into Iraq to counter the current threat from Iran and Hezbollah, a lot of those lessons will be taken back with our troops, and the training and the tactics and techniques and procedures that we learned from Desert Storm and that we apply now all around the world is going to be huge and very important. And the thing that I need to say to the men and women that are on the front lines today is keep the faith. We're praying for you, we're pulling for you, and we support you 1,000%. And you pray that the senior leadership of this great nation will take a moment to take into consideration how precious the nation's national treasure is before you put it into harm's way. And, I pray that each night that the leaders will take a step back to think about what they're doing, why they're doing it, and why we're sending our troops into harm's way.
You said something that, you know me and my nasty hardball questions, but no, something that you said that I'm curious about is that what we learned in Desert Storm was the war, Desert Shield was
the build-up
to it. But you said that we're taking lessons learned, and my question is, and quite frankly, it's been a question many times, and you know better, I have no idea. Grunts don't get the important stuff. We just get to do the grunt work. But anyway, what is, and I don't know a better way to say it than, what's the overlapping, and when you say we're taking lessons learned back, what is the, am I asking it from the standpoint of from the Pentagon or politicians, or what is the overlapping that is taking people like yourself that were active in Desert Storm and going now to the lessons going back in? What is the overlapping procedure like, if that makes sense? How do we know that the guy like yourself, you're retired, so how are they taking your message back?
Well, I think you can watch the evolution of our equipment and how we've matured, and research and development has developed new equipment to combat the evolution of warfare. We first saw landmines and anti-personnel mines that were the precursors to today's IEDs. And, when you have a superiorly technologically force going against someone with lesser technology, they find ways to take advantage of that technological gap. And the folks that we faced in Desert Storm kind of were the precursors. And, one of the things that we talked about earlier was President Bush said, hey, the goal is to get Saddam out of Kuwait and not move past a certain point into Iraq, because we did not want to take over the country of Iraq. We just wanted to expel him out and then contain him from that point. So, just like we had folks on the ground taking lessons learned and capturing those and preparing new tactics, techniques, and procedures, they had it too. And, so you start seeing that evolution. You had folks that, read history books just like we read history books. So they saw what the Viet Cong were doing in the North Vietnamese against a superior force in Vietnam, and they started taking some of those tactics and techniques and starting to employ them. So what we did was the evolution of the Humvee came about, and the Humvee was a great asset, a vehicle that was able to do a lot as far as mobility on the battlefield. But once again, the enemy is very observant. So how do you counter the Humvee, the mobility, and the speed of the attack? Well, you slow it down by burying IEDs and look for what we call overmatch of that technology with the IEDs. And they did a great job of countering that piece of equipment. So what did we have to do? We had to come up with a solution that was born out of paying close attention to what was happening in combat, similar to what was happening in Desert Storm, and the MRAP, the mine-resistant anti-ambush vehicle, came about. But in the beginning, it had a flat hull, so they just packed more explosives in there, and they started defeating that piece of equipment. So we had to come up with the V-hull, and that deflected the explosives, and it gave us the tactical advantage. And so you apply those lessons, painful as they are, but you apply them as quickly as you can. And one of the things that came out was that we changed our research development and our ability to bring new pieces of equipment to the battlefield much faster as a result of what we learned in Desert Storm and what we learned in OEF 1 through 5, and as you mature that. But, one of the things that we talked about also earlier is that, our adversaries have eyes forward watching how, the Taliban, Al-Qaeda, ISIS, the Iraqis were dealing with us in the Middle East, looking for vulnerability that they may exploit at a later date.
And everybody has them.
Absolutely.
That MRAP, if we're talking about, and I was out, I saw one at Fort Leonard Wood. That's that big sucker, isn't it?
Yes.
That has wheels that look like they're off of, I don't know, from outer space. They're
right.
huge.
Mm-hmm.
And it also has the sides that would if it was directly, a missile was directly shot at it, it would still deflect. It has the ability of deflection with just the siding on
right. It has some anti-armor, anti-missile defeating capability.
That sucker's big.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'd hate to see what size the guy is that's driving that thing.
Yeah. Well, you'd be surprised. It's men and women, soldiers, driving that thing and with great skill. That vehicle is designed to have the crew compartment survive a blast from an IED.
So is it basically taken over as APC or?
Sort of. You still have the Bradleys, the tanks, and APCs and the next generation of the APCs that are being developed now that are in your armored formations and stuff. In this one, our infantry rides to battle along with the Bradleys and the other infantry carrying vehicles. But it's a tool that gets us from point A to point B much faster, so you can take full advantage of the shock and awe that the technology brings.
Plus, and I'm assuming, because I wasn't there and wouldn't have the information, but I'm assuming they are all also escorted by our Air Force, be it helicopters or be it the regular Air Force in some way or the other. So it's, do we take one step forward and 2 steps forward, or do we take 1 step forward and 2 steps backwards?
No, the goal is to keep pressing forward and not take any steps backwards.
This is something we were talking. Excuse me. This is something we were talking about earlier, though, and it concerns me. We went into Vietnam naked. We had in my opinion, we really. Gosh, what's all that green stuff? What do we do with all that? And our weapons? Why is my weapon hanging up on a vine? And so forth and so on. And like you said, we should have learned from that, in my opinion, that you got to know territory. And when I was in going through AIT, we talked about it, but it didn't look like we did anything about it. But you got to know, you got to be advised of what you're going into. And do you feel like we were advised really in going into Iraq and Kuwait that of what we were going to be facing in the desert, as opposed to the last thing we had faced was Vietnam? So now we're in the desert. Duh. ain't many vines in the desert, I don't think.
Well, as we talked about earlier, the National Training Center out at Fort Irwin, California, is the premier training base that prepares you for that type of warfare. And, right before Desert Shield, we had gone on 2 rotations to the National Training Center in 1987 and 88, early 1989, I should say. And then the following summer, you're in the deserts of Saudi Arabia preparing, along with the rest of the coalition, to extricate Saddam out of Kuwait. So a lot of the goodness that comes out of training, hard, realistic training, prepares you for the eventuality of combat. And the greatest aspect of Army leadership or military leadership is you train hard in training. I mean, you invest a lot of blood, sweat, and tears so you don't die in combat, or you have the opportunity to execute your mission and make it home safely and stuff.
With that, we're going to take our first break. We'll be back with General Richard Dix right after this. And the show, we're going to be calling it Remembering Desert Shield and Desert Storm. And as we leave for a break, I just want to, again, salute all of our veterans, all of our military, past, present, and future. And the military is a great future if you'll just take advantage of it. We'll be back right after this.
Good morning. My name is Mike Mizell. I'm a retired Army colonel and president of the Johns Creek Veterans Association. We meet in Newtown Park, and part of one of our projects is the installation of the Healing Wall, the half-scale model of the Vietnam Wall that traveled the United States. Well, it's coming to rest, and it's going to live in Johns Creek forever, the half-scale model. We're looking at possibly a March implementation ribbon cutting ceremony, and we're looking for donors and sponsors that want to help us in this great project. You can donate at jcvets.org.
Happy holidays. I'm Patty Levan. Owner of Multi-Line Mortgage Services, Inc. Call us for details about our conventional loans with as little as 3% down, or talk to us about our FHA, VA, and USDA loan options. We answer your questions with honesty and integrity, because that's how we roll. Multi-Line Mortgage Services, your way home. Call us at 941-201-9111 or check out our website at multilinemortgage.com. Company founded by Joseph D. Powers, NMLS 158989, licensed Georgia and Florida.
You're listening to America's Web Radio on the AmericasBroadcastNetwork.com. Thank you for listening.
And welcome back to America's Web Radio. And our show is Remembering Desert Shield and Desert Storm. And we have, who I consider certainly an expert on it, is General Richard Dix, who's going to be doing the show. And we were just talking about some of the guests that you want to have in. And also, well, I can't say I have generals coming over to my house every night, but I do know some other officers in the colonel range and so forth that we've talked about different stuff, and I want to put a plug in again for Johns Creek and Mike Mazel, who's the leader out there, that is putting together the Healing Wall, the Vietnam replica of the Vietnam Wall in Washington. And we've talked a little bit, but about a number of things, and it just, to me, it's just so important to keep our veterans in the forefront and people respecting, and it's certainly different from coming back from Nam, but you were talking about the lessons learned. Let me put you on the spot. What is the most important lesson that General Dix learned from being in Desert Storm and Desert Shield?
The most important lesson learned, Desert
you can't
Shield,
trust
Desert
grunts.
Storm, that then Lieutenant Dix learned, that you had to be a true master of your craft if you were going to be a career soldier, because of the importance of the mothers and fathers, what they entrust to military leadership. And that's the what I consider, and what most consider, the nation's greatest treasure, our young people. And, I had good examples and bad examples of leadership during Desert Storm, that I made sure that I filed what I saw, and made sure that I trained hard. I kept my body, my mind, and my spirit in total balance. And I took those lessons learned forward and said, if I ever was blessed to lead organizations, that I would make sure that we were properly trained, we were properly outfitted, we had the equipment necessary, and that we were able to evolve in the space during a rotation or in combat, to make sure that my goal was to get everybody home.
I was just thinking, one of the lessons that that you fought something that in a war that no one else had ever fought before, called the ultimate use of computers and cell phones, and so and we laugh about it, but it's true. I'm sure you had to make some policies up and pass them down the line, pass them down the chain, and say, okay, I'm not going to go through and take everybody's cell phone away, but it's sort of like in Nam, and like I've said over and over, I did not go to Nam, but a lot of friends did. But one of the big things in my training was, you don't light a cigarette in the dark.
Amen.
Hello.
Amen.
But that's the same. You don't turn on your cell phone in the middle of the night.
Yep. All of that still holds true today, and you're absolutely correct. One of the things was keeping young soldiers and personnel, period, off of Facebook, and taking video of the forward operating base where you may be, and running a blog in the middle of combat, because other people watch that, and the enemy is doing the same thing that we're doing, looking for intel through social media and other sources to find out exactly where you're at, what you're doing, and how things are inside of the forward operating bases. And they want to know if they're impacting you in the right way, so they can change some of their tactics, techniques, and procedures to make sure that they can win and carry the day.
You're such a young person to have attained the rank of general, but and the truth is, I know you were in Desert Storm and Desert Shield when you were 12. But anyway, did you ever, in your wildest imagination growing up, think that you'd be, I don't want to say playing a game, because it wasn't a game by any means, but having to compete with computers and cell phones, Dick Tracy cell phones, and all the rest of the stuff?
No, when I was growing up, we didn't have that technology. The computer was just coming on age when I was a freshman in college, And
Come on, you're not that old.
I wish, but you didn't have that. But one of the good things that a leader does is he's able or she's able to absorb those that are around them. And if you're an effective leader, you will take input from the lowest soldier in your formation to the highest ranking soldier in your formation. And it's the constant thirst for knowledge that shapes today's battlefield, because it's so, it travels beyond the speed of light. I can pick up the cell phone and send a text, and, it will be the formation moving across the terrain, and, I can have an opposing force set and ready to go with an ambush before those guys even know what's going to hit them and stuff. And that's this technology.
Isn't
Guess
that
what? The
amazing?
the enemy does the same thing with their technology, and it's truly amazing.
And to think that the phone that you just held up has more power, computer power, than the satellite, than the guys landing on the moon.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, I'm not very smart, and all that kind of stuff just boggles my mind. It messes my head up to think about it. But okay, did you bring your crystal ball with you? So we have this technology that's in a Star Wars technology almost type of thing. What's the next step in your opinion?
Well, the power of this handheld computer, aka Android or iPhone, in the use hands of today, those that were born in the 2000s, this is all they've known, and this technology for them is powerful, and it's constantly evolving and changing, and a lot of these young people are right at the forefront of the evolutionary change. One of the things that we discussed is our senior leaders have got to do a better job of understanding the ramifications of some of their decisions in a social media impacted world where it gets out and it travels beyond the speed of light. The next 10 minutes, a decision that was made in some part of the world that was captured on one of these phones, and now you're dealing with the blowback from that. In wars past, it took 30 or 40 days for that information to get back from the war front to home station, and you can find out what happened at a battle. But now with this capability, our adversaries do a great job of the information campaign where they'll video an ambush or something to show that they're affecting, but they also manipulate what you see. And I'm a firm believer that he who tells the story first and tells it best carries the day. And so
Beautiful.
We've done a better job of the information technology fight and making sure that we get our message out as to what's really happening.
It's just like I heard, and again, I can't imagine it, but that Trump was watching live and direct as the drone was taking out Soleimani the other night or
Probably.
other day. That he was, and the operator of the drone, Mr. President, we've got the target. I'm waiting on your order to fire.
Yep. And that technology has been used since 9/11, and each administration, each president has had access along with the intel community as they watch things unfold. The biggest thing is that I'm concerned with is making sure that we always have a human in the loop, and making a final decision, because there are second and third order effects and results, and we as a force try to minimize collateral damage at all costs. So there are a lot of things that go into the things that you see.
We got to take a break. I want to come back to that because you scratch my questionnaire on a lot of things, and I'm just a curious old man.
Good morning, Vietnam. Oh, I'm sorry. I missed the program. Okay.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Let's talk Venezuelans.
Yes. As
So-
every Thursday.
Yeah, every Thursday. How was your Christmas?
I'm dreaming of a white Christmas.
Well, we didn't have no snow here in Georgia.
No.
It feels like it was going to snow like over Saturday.
Want to give your family or loved one the perfect gift? Then go online and check out the TornadoBodyDryer.com. I love mine and the warm heat air massage it gives me after my shower. The Tornado Body Dryer is super. You'll love it, and you'll love having one in your shower.
Happy holidays. I'm Patty Levan, owner of Multiline Mortgage Services, Inc. Call us for details about our conventional loans with as little as 3% down, or talk to us about our FHA, VA, and USDA loan options. We answer your questions with honesty and integrity, because that's how we roll. Multiline Mortgage Services, your way home. Call us at 941-201-9111 or check out our website at multilinemortgage.com. Company founded by Joseph D. Powers, NMLS 158989, licensed in Georgia and Florida.
And we're back on America's Web Radio, and our brand new show, Remembering Desert Shield and Desert Storm. And the host of our show is General Richard Dix. And I have all the respect, and you should too. You should be standing, if I have to be standing here talking, you should be standing there listening. And I would suggest that at least attention, maybe parade rest. We'd go for that, maybe. And I know what I'm fixing to do. That's a Texas term, fixing. I don't know if you've ever heard it or not. But what I'm about to do, I don't know if ranking officers, they'd only hear it through their window. But I don't know if you can appreciate this or not.
Cool.
You know, I love Jody's. And I was thinking yesterday afternoon, the military, our military, I can't address anybody else's, but our military is a class in psychology. Almost everything they do, just like a Jody. You're tired down to you don't know that your foot can move another inch, and yet here's that big drill sergeant or whoever it is, a first lieutenant, your platoon sergeant,
And
whoever.
you call him the Jody.
And he comes out starting with a Jody, and everybody falls into singing, or not singing, but what do you call it? Going with the Jody, and all of a sudden your legs don't hurt quite as much. You're going to make it up the hill. You're going to make it through whatever. But that's psychological warfare from our no. But no, it is. And everything the military does, the more I thought about it, the more it's a class in psychology. And these people that come out and say, oh, poor old Joe, he was in Vietnam or he was in Desert Shield, and he came back with PTSD. Well, folks, PTSD ain't exactly new. It was shell shocked. It was, they had PTSD in the Revolutionary War.
Yep.
And what a lot of folks don't understand, you have a bullet go whizzing by you, and you got a case of PTSD on its way if it's not already there. And you know, a lot of folks in the world, I think it was, I can't remember who was telling me, Roger Wise maybe or something, or it may have been Rick, but 1% of the population serve.
Less than 1%.
Less than 1%.
Less than 1%.
That's so.
And
How do
I
you
believe
know what
we're the
I'm
only
talking-
volunteer army
Yeah.
in the free world.
And somebody's making policy, and how do they know what they're talking about when they ain't been there, ain't done that? And yet, you know, we're all the way through basic and AIT. You know, they work on you, and they work on your heads that, hey, you're not going in alone. You're going in with the best equipment in the world. You're going, and it's all psychological, building you up. And it's beautiful.
Absolutely. You know, it's a belief in the person to your left or your right. You know, and I'm a firm believer that that's why the U.S. military has been at the forefront of leading change in this nation, is because of the camaraderie that comes out of service. And, you know, we are best when it's all of us together in the same boat, rowing in the same direction, you know, and that's when our adversaries have trouble dealing with this nation, is when we're unified and we're on one accord. They don't know how to handle that, you know, because they live off of discord and chaos in their country, and they manipulate things of this nature and free press, and they suppress all of the things that, you know, kind of would prevent them from dealing with the chaos and the dictatorship that they have in their way of life. And when you have a free and prosperous democracy, it's that shining beacon on the hill that everybody wants to move towards. And that's when this nation is at its best.
You're probably a lot meaner than me, and I sure don't want you crossing the table and coming after me. But, you know, my opinion is that a leader like yourself, going from lieutenant to general, you didn't do it. You were smart enough to surround yourself by a bunch of folks that, I think the term is CYA, and they helped you do it.
Absolutely.
And I think this is something that's so unique about our military. Even as stupid as I am, if you had ordered, or if I was the next person that was supposed to walk in your office and polish your boots, then you knew I could do it.
Right.
Because that's what we'd been trained to do. And and like you said, other militaries work on a whole different shape, form, and fashion of discipline, and it's not the respect. I mean, we were taught from the time I got to Fort Ord in the Rain, the respect to an officer,
Right.
and to perform at your highest ability. And I don't think any other country has anything like what we have.
Well, you know, a lot of it stems from our educational system in the United States military. And, you know, other nations look towards our educational system to kind of copy and mimic. And, you know.
Why not? They copy everything else. No.
Yeah, that's true. So when you have that, you can depend on those that are below you to know what right is and how to do the things that need to be done. And for us in the United States Army, the backbone of the Army is the non-commissioned officer corps, the NCOs. And those NCOs shaped me, taught me everything I learned over the years. And, you know, my battle buddy was my command sergeant major. And my command sergeant majors, I took advice, I listened. We talked, almost all the time, every day in combat. But more importantly, every day in peacetime also. When we were training, it was my platoon sergeants, my first sergeants, and my section sergeants when I was a young lieutenant. And they were like, hey, Lieutenant, come over here and let us show you the way this is supposed to be done. And this is how you manage 4 M1A1 tanks on today's battlefield. And you keep all 16 of us alive, and you move us to an objective, and you get us back home in one piece. And those are the life's lessons that you take as you grow up in the military that shape you. Now, you have that same opportunity inside of our civilian sector. We just got to get back to, the things that would allow us to get together on one accord and operate as a team and utilize a team concept or approach. I would love to see every young person in this country do 2 or 3 years in the military coming out of high school,
Amen.
For nothing else, so you could gain a sense of discipline, sense of camaraderie, and you can get life skills that you can, now turn and employ, whether you go through college or whether you go through the corporate 500 structure. But you've got leadership skills that you've gained over those 3 years. And you've got the GI Bill standing behind you to get you to college, because you may not be able to afford it coming straight out of high school. But, we got to do something to lower the cost of, getting educated in this country and stuff. Utilize all of those tools that are in your tool bag that you discussed earlier about, join the Army and gain discipline, see the world, join the Navy, the Air Force, the Coast Guard, the Marines. But have a sense of service and a willingness to give back, to say thank you to what this country and the opportunities that it's afforded you. And, who knows, you may love it and do a career like I did, and now I'm giving back. I've always given back, but now I'm giving back in greater ways because I have more time, I have a greater appreciation, and I've got a second mission that I'm able to do in this uniform as opposed to wearing the Army greens. But, it's a great day.
Heck, they don't even wear it anymore. But anyway, one thing that, again, you sparked or scratched an itch or whatever you want to say, but and I respect you for being a wonderful leader, but it's sort of like the ability of the best salesman, quote unquote, and or the best leader is their ability to ask the right question of the right person. Whether you're selling a product, I don't know of anybody that can actually sell a product. They ask the right question and say, well, I've got the answer to it. I can address that question and give you the product that you need. Same way in the military.
Yep.
It's asking whether it's a NCO or another O or whatever, but the ability to ask the right question and then take their advice and use it. And I'll be the first to admit there are a whole lot of folks that know a whole lot more about this business than I do, but I do listen. And I appreciate what somebody sees. And, if you're the low man on the totem pole, chances are you're probably going to see something that they're not seeing at the top of the totem pole.
Absolutely.
And,
God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason.
Yeah, that's very good. We're running a thing on the station right now that called idioms. I love idioms and the sayings, and about as useful as a screen door on a submarine or whatever it happens to be, But I love those, and we ask people to send them in. I'll also steal another minute from you, is that we have asked, even though I'm in media, I hope I'm not compared to the media in any way. I don't want to be. But we've also asked our president and our first lady have gotten many, many, many bad raps, and particularly uncalled for from the media and uncalled for as far as our first lady goes. And I had a friend from Florida. I don't know how you do it, but anyway, she had volunteered to go up and help with the Christmas tree and decorate it and stuff. And then the media comes out and gives our first lady grief about wearing blue jeans in the White House. Well, she was working her tail off. She couldn't be in a cocktail dress, you know.
Right.
And my friend said that she was just incredible. She'd come around and she worked on the tree, and then she'd come around. Can I get you anything? Do you need a sandwich or you need coffee? Whatever, you know. Just tell me. Just yell at me and I'll get it for you, or I'll get somebody to get it. Anyway, so I've started a one-man band of that. Just take the time and just send our first lady a thank you. And it goes a long way. It's the same thing in the airport when you see a service member or a first responder in the airport or wherever you see them. Just thank them for their service.
Absolutely.
And it does more for you than it does for them.
Oh, yeah.
But it goes a long ways.
You know, and a lot of it, David, goes back to, be careful to cast that first stone if you live in a glass house, you know. So there is good within the media, just like there is probably not good that stretches across. A lot of it deals with the ratings and trying to have, the sensationalism that you think drives your ratings. But more importantly, you have to be careful that you don't have the things that divide us, create an even wider divide, because there are reasons that people do what they do. And we've got to look beyond those reasons. And, we've got to give the benefit of the doubt where we give benefit of the doubt.
When I was in broadcast back many, many years ago, I'd have been fired in 2 seconds if I offered my opinion. It was the news, AP, UPI, and it was the news. NEWS, not NOOZ. It was the news. And the truth. Can you think of one situation in your career, either Desert Storm, Desert Shield, whenever, that the truth hurt? Would you rather replace someone telling you a lie or telling you the truth?
No. We always ask for the truth, because there's that parable that says, nothing gets better with bad news. Give it to me up front and be honest about it so we can understand what happened, how it happened, and then work on making sure we don't repeat the same mistakes. And, a good leader, he's going to underwrite those mistakes. And you try not to repeat those, But a bad leader will crush people for the slightest miscalculation or, blow something out of proportion. And he or she rules out of fear. We call those toxic leaders. And in today's environment, they have no place because, once again, it's the nation's treasures that you are responsible for. And, for me, it's the greatest honor that you can have is to be in command of the nation's treasures and be responsible for the nation's treasure, and understand that you take good, you take bad, you take everybody from different backgrounds, different cultures, they only see what they see on the news, but once they get to know you and they're able to talk to you, it's like, hey, they said that, everybody does this from your background or from where you're from. And it's just the total opposite. Well, it's stereotypes. And the media has a problem with projecting the wrong stereotypes. I'm born and raised here in Atlanta. I'm a Grady baby. I was told that, at a very young age, you're not going to amount to anything. You're probably going to end up in jail just like the rest of the people from your neighborhood. And, but, the society and the nation gave me an opportunity. They allowed me to go to college. They allowed me to join a great ROTC program, graduated. I got a chance to serve, and it's always been a dream to serve. This is all I've ever wanted to do. And but I had to make the right choices to propel myself forward to go. I never dreamed that I would reach the height that I reached. The goal was always to be the best and to take care of those who I was responsible for. That's all that mattered. Everything else was going to be an addition, or like they say, it's gravy or the icing on the cake. The main goal and the function was to take care of the men and women that I was charged with, and to take care of their families, and to make sure that they could be all that they could be, or they were Army strong. And every day it was an honor to do that, And I've lost people in combat. And
I started to ask, if I can interrupt, I think people, 99 out of 100 can't imagine it because they haven't been there. But I was just saying, going to sleep at night in a hot zone, and knowing that you held so many people's lives in your hands. How many aspirin did you have to take? No, I'm teasing about that, but I mean, what a responsibility, saying,
Oh yeah,
I've got to make the right decision, or I could, 100 people, 1,000 people, whatever, could die because I didn't. And I'm trusting my captains, my majors, my whatever, to give me the right. But what's the old saying? The buck stops here.
Oh yeah,
and it stopped with you, and everybody below you saluted and said yes sir, and they went and did what Richard General Dix said to do. And I mean, my God, and your shoulders ain't even that big. But no, they had to be about 5 feet. You've shrunk since you were there.
Oh yeah, and since I've gone into the retirement, I was 6'5" when I joined the Army at one point in time. But a prime example is day one in Brigade Command. I'm back in Afghanistan, and earlier that morning we had a catastrophic event where a Humvee that had 5 soldiers in it struck a IED, and it was a catastrophic kill, is what it's called, where everybody in the Humvee died almost instantly, except for the gunner. But he lost everything from the waist down, but he survived and was medevaced to Landstuhl. And they were in up-armored Humvees, but like I had talked about earlier, the tactics of the enemy had changed, and they were overmatching our equipment. And we had MRAPs that were on the ground, but they had been damaged, and we were running out of equipment and couldn't get it in fast enough. And the MATVs were being employed, but they had a problem, and they had to have that problem corrected before they could be put into the field. So we developed a concept where we took battle damage repair kits, and we started what is known as the racetrack, where you would put teams of about 8 to 9 mechanics on each vehicle. They would strip it all the way down to the hull. They would do the welding, everything necessary, run the wiring harnesses again, put all of the equipment back, and it would be brand new within an X number of days. And we got so well at that, we started perfecting it. And we could get a vehicle that was totally battle damaged back into the fight within 7 days. Wow. Here's the key. You had to have, or you had to understand who your people were on your team, and you had to get them to believe in something better or greater than their individual selves, and we had contract mechanics that were from other parts of the world, and they were physicists, they were electrical engineers, they were structural engineers. I mean, these guys were brilliant. And I'm walking through the maintenance shop one day, and I said, hey, why are you here? It's like, hey, sir, we don't have any jobs back in our home country. And, we have to feed our families just like everybody else does. And, one guy said, hey, if you give me the diagram, I can develop a plan to get that back in. So I was like, okay. So we pulled the leadership together. We had a discussion, and we said, hey, this might work. Let's go. And we started employing it. And by the time 6 months later came around, we were outpacing the enemy's ability to destroy our vehicles and damage them. And we were saving lives, all because we took the time to have a discussion with somebody at a lower rank, understand that he or she had capability, and that we could employ that to make sure that we could get those MRAPs into our soldiers' hands. And, it was a game changer in Afghanistan. It really was.
Listen up, folks, and particularly the veterans that are out there listening. You know the feeling that I just had as I was listening to General Dix, that he is a leader, and that's the quality of a leader, is when you I can't imagine how many people have no clue what electrical harness is. And yet, here is a gentleman that I don't know whether you've ever really installed one in a car or anything else, but you know what you're talking about. That's the difference in leadership. And everybody's got to have a quarterback. They may not be the best defensive end in the world, but if they're a quarterback, they make the team work. Mm-hmm. And that's, sir, folks, it's tough being across from somebody like General Dix. It's, he's an amazing man, and you just reek leadership. And I don't know how long I can stand it. It's no.
Well, David, that's the conversation I want to have every Monday. I want to talk about the aspects of Desert Shield, Desert Storm, how we got there, the history behind it, what did we learn from it, employ those lessons that we learned almost 30 years ago and employ them today. But more importantly, I want to have a conversation with the listeners out there. And, I think it's safe to say that we'll take any question.
Oh, absolutely.
And we'll have a dialogue. And, I want to thank you for the opportunity to come onto your show and to have that dialogue. I think it's critical. It is the way that you make sure you stay on one accord and you avoid the chaos that is really affecting the rest of the world. And, it's how you're able to stay on guard when the threat is knocking at the door.
One thing about it, first off, if you have a question or you just want to send a thank you note to General Dix, it's going to be General Dix at americaswebradio.com, and he will get them directly. We won't even, as I mentioned to Richard, we won't even see them. They'll come to you direct via that email address. And you can also go on our website and look up Monday afternoons at 1 o'clock. And I had to stop and think, what day of the week is it? Mondays at 1 o'clock. And you can see the beautiful picture of General Dix and and his bio. And it's quite an impressive bio. And then I also want to encourage people, please go to the Georgia Military Hall of Fame, downtown Atlanta, and a lot of people in Atlanta didn't know about it, and I didn't even know about it.
Right.
And it is great. Colonel White has done a wonderful job, as has Paul, and I mess up his name. Can you say it better than me? You know what I'm talking about, Paul Lingram, Linger. He's actually a chaplain.
Yeah. I think you got it right. God.
Well, Paul, I did okay on.
Yeah.
It's the rest of it. Anyway, they have done a wonderful job, and please respect the military. And if you have a teenage son or daughter, suggest that they look into it. It's for some reason we got to get over this thing too that if you join the military, you're going to be shot at. But there are so many areas of the military that you can choose to go into.
Absolutely.
And it can form the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
And not everybody is going to drive a M1A1 or whatever. And,
Yep.
So, with that being said, I think this has been a great kickoff, and appreciate you coming in and looking forward to many more shows together.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'd like to invite everybody out on the 29th of January. We're going to be inducting the next 15 into the Georgia Military Veteran Hall of Fame downtown at the Georgia State Capitol, right across from it. I think it's in the North Tower. And, we've got several distinguished inductees that we're going to unveil their plaques, and they'll go up in the rotunda. They'll get a chance to meet the governor, and then we'll have the session across the street. And it's great because for the rest of your life, your plaque will be on that wall in the Hall of Fame, and next generations will get a, hey, I kind of think I knew him or might have come across him or her. It's a great day.
Sir, thank you. We're going to have to get out of here and move on, but we'll be back next week on America's Web Radio with Remembering Desert Shield and Desert Storm. Our host, General Richard Dix. Thank you for tuning in, and send him an email or send us a letter here and we'll take care of it. So with that being said, we're going to put the plug in the jug and get out.
You're listening to America's Web Radio on the AmericasBroadcastNetwork.com.